brief bullet points about myself. I've been building websites since 1999. That kind of gives me an advantage in the SEO and analytics realm. I can look at websites in a kind of a different light than people who come in from more of a marketing background or more of a design background. I've worked for a variety of agencies and in-house at an SEO for about 7 years. And I've also worked as an independent consultant in the same field. I frequently attend and speak at local SEO meetups around Philly, and I was one of the few people that actually got to speak when SEO Moz, now Moz, came to speak in Philly last year. I have my GAIQ, which is my Google Analytics Individual Qualification Certificate, which means I've mastered at least the basics of Google Analytics, and that's what we're going to discuss today. And my goal for 2014, since I've joined Stream, has been to help Stream become one of the few agencies in the Philadelphia area to become a Google Analytics certified partner, which is kind of a big deal. And needless to say, I am a nerd. So I hope that I can provide you with some valuable insight, and we can actually go, you can take the information I give you today, and you can begin working in analytics as soon as we're done the webinar. The hashtag for this webinar is hashtag Streaminar, and again, I'm at Chris County, and Stream is at Stream Companies on Twitter. So feel free to follow me, follow Stream. Any questions you have after the webinar, you can reach me via email or by Twitter. I'm responsive to both. Okay, so today we're going to cover some basics. We're going to talk about why it's important to measure website data. Mainly, what does it mean for your business, and why do we need to know who's visiting, where they're coming from, and what they're doing once they get to your site. We're going to talk about how to set it up. Obviously, one of the most important parts of this webinar is actually how to install it and how to begin seeing traffic data in your Google Analytics installation so that we can begin to measure results. Okay? And we're going to talk about how to clean up your data with filters so that we're blocking out potentially dirty data, which could be, visiting the site from our office or from home. We know those visitors are ourselves, and we want to block that out to really be able to measure how we're doing. We're going to talk about how to configure Google Analytics initially to measure success. We want to set up some goals. One of the most common goals that we'll talk about that most businesses use is the Contact Us form submission. So we're going to set that up. We're going to create a couple of simple dashboards using the Google Analytics Solutions Gallery. We're going to talk about emailing reports to yourself, setting that up for however often you'd like to receive different reports. We're going to talk about how to view standard reports, which is really acquisition versus behavior versus conversion. We're going to get into that a little bit more in detail later, but don't let those words scare you. It's really just about how they got to your site, what they did when they got there, and then did that person turn into a customer. We also have some resources for you to download after the webinar, including a blog post that I recently wrote for the Stream Company's blog on how business owners can use analytics to gain an edge and make smarter decisions, because that, at the end of the day, is what it's all about. It's all about taking the data that you see in analytics and making it actionable. We can look at the number of people that visit the site all day, but unless we can learn something from the data and use it to make informed decisions on how we can improve our site, the data doesn't really do us any good. And we're going to spend about 45 minutes, give or take, through this presentation, and then we're going to leave about 15 minutes afterwards for live Q&A, so I encourage you to hang out. Any questions that I can't answer with 200% accuracy or assurance, I'm going to table those, and I'll have to get back to you. Okay, so right off the bat, we want to talk about why is measuring website traffic data important? Well, we want to know, number one, first and foremost, how did they get to my site? It's a combination of SEO or search engine optimization, pay-per-click or Google AdWords. Was it social? Did they find us through a Facebook post, or maybe they came through Reddit? Once they got there, we want to know what they did on the site. So we want to see what pages they visited, how long did they visit those pages, what did the path look like from beginning to end of their visit on our site. And then, of course, we want to know at the end of the day, a website exists usually to sell a product or to sell ad revenue or something, we want to know how many of those people that visited the site actually turned into customers. So if we look at the way Google Analytics is set up, really they have it broken down into 3 tiers where you have your acquisition, behavior, and conversion. So that's a little bit about what we're going to talk about today. And we're going to jump right into how to set up GA before we start talking about how to measure these results. So essentially, I'm going to make an assumption that you've heard of GA. You've heard of Google Analytics as a web platform. Of course, it's free. It's widely used by millions of people across the globe. It's very effective, and it's very easy to set up. So once you've created a new account in Google Analytics, and if you're not sure how to do that, there are a multitude of tutorials on how to begin the process of creating a Gmail account and then going in and creating your first account. And what we're going to select today would be a website, because obviously we're going to track our website. We can get a little bit more advanced later on, but for now we're going to track a website. And depending on if you're launching a brand new site or if you're adding analytics to an existing site, that's going to help you determine which tracking method you're going to assume. So assuming that you're installing this on a brand new site, it's recommended that we use Universal Analytics. But if we're installing this on a site that has been around for a while, we want to go ahead and use Classic Analytics. To go over the difference between the two is a little bit out of scope of this webinar, but essentially in beta you can get a lot more data from Universal Analytics than you can from Classic Analytics, but there's so much data in Classic Analytics too that you're really not missing a whole lot of information. And additionally, if you use Classic Analytics, and this is again a little bit more advanced, you can begin tracking things like demographics, age, gender, things like that, but that's a little bit down the road. So first thing set up, you're choosing a website, and you're gonna choose whichever package is right for you. Okay, so pretty basic stuff. Once you hit the next button through your setup, you're gonna enter your name for the property, which in this case is my website. You're obviously gonna put in your website URL. Take note of whether your site is www.yoursite or just yoursite.com, and make sure you put the appropriate version. If it has www, be sure to include it. If you select an industry category, it doesn't really affect a whole lot in terms of what you're collecting, but I think it's more for Google to identify who's using their software, but there's a lot of categories to choose from, so pick the one that works for you. And then the tracking code might be the scariest thing on this slide, because that's JavaScript, and as people who are just business owners or they're not familiar with coding, JavaScript is really just this little beacon that's going to tell analytics that, hey, this website is attached to your GA account, and I want to track data. So it's going to look for this beacon, and it's going to report back, and you can see that it says GA create UA. That UA is going to be your user account for Google Analytics, in case we're looking for it later. So adding the code, this little bit of JavaScript to your site is pretty easy. For the most part, websites nowadays have templates or placeholders where you can add it in one spot and it'll trickle down to every other page of your website. So you have a head section of your website. If you're familiar with HTML, this comes right before the body of your website. So the head section is where the analytics code goes, so that we can use the asynchronous version. Don't worry about what that means right now, but that's the version that we want, asynchronous. Okay? If your website does not use templates and you have to go in and manually edit every page by hand, I recommend that you call us right now. Call Stream today and talk about a site redesign, because it's 2014 and that's just ridiculous. Okay, once we've installed it, once you had your web developer install the software, the tracking code, we need to check to make sure that it's working. The fastest way to check to make sure that it's working is to actually go back into Google Analytics, click on the Reporting tab, and click on the Real-Time tab. Okay, this is going to show you, hopefully you have more visits than one, but if you visit your site, then you should at least have one visit there, and it should be you. And this is going to show you not only how many are on the site, but where they came from and where they are in the world. And you can actually filter down based on the the demographics of where the person is located, where the visitor is located, how they got there, the technology that they're on, numerous ways to pinpoint more information about the user. But in this case, we're just doing it to make sure that we've installed it correctly and that it is indeed tracking data. And if you need to refer back to this, maybe you hire an agency or you need to work with someone else who's going to install the code for you at a later time, you can go back into the admin folder and click on property, click on the property that we're talking about, in this case my website, and click on the .js tracking info link, and you'll see, you'll get that code snippet again, which you can then copy and paste, and you can send it into an email or however you'd like to deliver it. Okay, and once we've realized that we are tracking data, we want to make sure that that's the last time we see ourselves in our data set. We want to block out any visits from ourselves, whether we're at home, whether we're at the office, wherever it might be. If there's somebody that you know that visits your site very often, such as an agency like Stream, we visit our sites a lot. We're there every day. We're making sure that when we're adding content or we're doing interlinking or we're doing any kind of SEO, we want to make sure that we are blocking our own IP so we're not inflating the traffic. You can block IPs. I'm not sure how many that they allow you to, but there's a pretty large number that you can enter in there, and you can even enter in ranges. So what we want to do is filter out IP visits from known IP addresses. So the IP is kind of the address of your computer. It's every computer that is connected to the internet has a number that's assigned, and that's what the IP address is. So if you visit whatismyip.com, it'll tell you what number that happens to be. And again, your number is going to look similar to this. It's going to be a number dot a number dot a number dot a number, or 192.168.11, and obviously everybody's IP address is unique. And once we've identified what that IP address is, we want to go ahead and create a new view so that we can create the filter in Google Analytics so that from now on, all the data that we see in that particular profile is excluding the traffic that we know to belong to somebody who visits the site regularly, who isn't someone who could likely turn into a customer. So creating a Google Analytics view is pretty simple. What we want to do is we want to create a new view by going into the default settings, go into your admin section. Okay, we want to create a new view for raw data, which is everything, which would be including your IP address, including everybody else's IP address. This is just for testing. We're going to make sure that the data is there and is always there. The important profile is the filter data, which is what we're talking about now, and excluding specific IP addresses. Right. A little bit more advanced down the road, you can actually create a view for anything else you need with a variety of filters. So, for example, you could have an organic traffic only view, which would exclude all paid search or direct traffic. In Google Analytics, click the admin button, select your account, and then select your property. So a couple slides ago, we talked about the name and then the property. Select the current site. The default view is all website data, which in our terms is raw data. That's everything. So what we want to do is we want to create a new filter called filter data. Create a new view called filter data, and then from there we're going to add a filter to the view. So in this case, go to admin, you're going to select your view, which we just created. You're going to select filters, and you're going to click plus new filter to add the new filter. Give it a name that is pretty representative of who it is, where they're from, and if you can, it's the name of the company. Like, for example, Stream would call our filter Stream Malvern or Stream Philadelphia, since the two offices have different IP addresses, but at least at a glance we know which locations have been filtered out. Okay? We want to select traffic from the IP addresses that are equal to the IP address that we grabbed from whatismyip.com. So pretty simple. Go back to the site and visit the real-time report again and now see if your data comes up after you put your IP address. The answer should be no. And that's exactly what we want to get a cleaner view of the data. Okay, I'm going to talk a little bit about setting up your first goal. Okay, obviously, when someone visits your site, that's a pretty big win in itself, is to have visitors. But at the end of the day, we want to make sure that those visitors are somehow turning into customers. Maybe we can't get them. Maybe you don't sell anything on your site, so maybe your site is more of a marketing extension, and it's more of a way for you to advertise your services. So what we want to do is, the most common goal is a contact us form submission. So someone visits your site, for example, if you visit streamcompanies.com and you click the contact us button, it says let's talk. That's pretty straightforward. Once I fill out the form, it's going to change the URL. It's going to show me that my new URL is streamcompanies/thankyou. That's something that's very important that I need to know. I need to know what the end step is so that I can use that in my new goal. So test your form. Obviously, that's a good idea anyway. Make sure you're actually getting your leads. See what URL it takes you to. Go to admin, goals, and create a new goal. All right, the goal description, again, it should match whatever it is. We have some pretty advanced ways of capturing form submissions from websites that have more than just one contact us form. We have automotive clients, for example, who have lead forms all over the place on different types of pages for different types of contact information, whether it be schedule service or get a price quote on a specific vehicle, you name it. In this case, we're assuming that there is a page that somebody went to, they filled out the form, and they were taken to a new URL called thank you. So in the destination, which is the type I'm choosing here, and you can even see that they give you an example, thanks.html, which is similar to what we're working with. For now, you can leave the value in the funnel off, but the destination is going to be /-thank you. So we know that the full URL is http streamcompany/thank you. Google Analytics is only looking for that very last piece with the slash. So that's very important. You want to make sure that when you're adding your destination URL, you're including the slash and just that last piece of it. If it's thankyou.aspx, be sure to include the .aspx, or if it's .php, include the PHP. Okay. Dashboards, like any other software that you might be familiar with, give you an at-a-glance view at vital statistics of whatever data you're working with. Of course, ours is web data, so creating custom dashboards can get a little bit tricky. Once you are more familiar with the type of data you can see, you can begin to play around and create your own customized dashboards that show you things that help you make more informed decisions. Until then, we have the Google Analytics Solutions Gallery, which features free dashboards and free custom reports that we can download right from the gallery and import to any profile in our Google Analytics account that we'd like. You can even share these via URL, and then someone else that you know can go to that URL. It'll fire up Google Analytics, and it'll ask them to name the report and ask them which profile in Analytics they would like to add it to. And lo and behold, it'll show up on your the top left of your Google Analytics display under dashboards based on whatever name we named it. So in this case, we're going to create a very simple social media dashboard using something we found in the Google Analytics Solutions Gallery. Right, so the first thing we're going to do is create the dashboard. So on the top left of your Google Analytics, when you're logged into your reporting view of Google Analytics, click Dashboard, click New, and we're going to name it. In this case, we're going to call it Social Traffic, and we're going to import from Gallery. Once you get into the Gallery, you have a plethora of options that you can choose on how you want to filter down the types of dashboards you'd like to see. There's a dashboard for PPC, for SEO, for social, for content strategy, for technical issues, for speed, all these things. So in this case, we picked the social media dashboard. They're all rated with the star rating of 0 through 5 stars. Obviously, these are rated by people who use Google Analytics on a day-in, day-out basis, and it's very helpful to help you decide which dashboard you want to begin working with right away. Once you import it, you can see the dashboard through the dashboard view and actually see the data that this dashboard pulled in, which is pretty cool. Okay, so setting up your first automatic email. So we've gone through and we've created our analytics account. We've filtered out our own profile so that the data is a little bit cleaner, and we're only seeing external visitors who could potentially be customers or who could potentially click on our ads. Now we've set up dashboards. So now we want to set up our first automatic email. Analytics has a lot of wonderful data, but at the end of the day, you really want the data to work for you, not against you. You don't want to spend a whole lot of time going and building in reports. You want to build a report once, and then you want to have it sent to you. You don't want to have to log into analytics every day. So if you want to create a custom report that gets sent to you, you can click on any view from any report in analytics, click on the email button, and then you can enter in your contact information, and then you can choose from a variety of options. So you can name it. You can call it the subject line. At Stream, we tend to name it very specifically what the client's name is and what the report type is, and even the frequency. So if it's a car dealership SEO report, if it's a car dealership monthly SEO report, we'll name that in the subject, so we know very clearly when it comes in through Outlook that that's what the report is, and there's no guessing. You can actually choose the attachment type. PDF is the most user-friendly, probably, because it prints out a very nice, client-friendly breakdown of your dashboard or your custom report. The other options are you can export it to Excel, or you can export it to a CSV file. And that's very helpful if you're working with this data in other applications, such as Excel, which is a little bit more advanced, but it's definitely something worth reading up on. And then, of course, you can choose the frequency and the day of the week. So before I go into the next slide, I want to go back to this for a moment, because we talked a lot of it about acquisition behavior and conversions, and I think I sped through it a little bit too quickly, because if we break it down, if we don't break it down, we might get overwhelmed. But if we do break it down, we can easily target what pieces of Google Analytics we need to work on and what teams are responsible for those pieces. So Google does a very good job of breaking down the channel groupings by, or the different pieces and silos of analytics by acquisition behavior and conversions, showing you first and foremost how did they get to the site, what did they do on the site, and then did they turn into a customer once they got there. So acquisitions, we mentioned them earlier, all things like search engine optimization, PPC, which is paid search, social, just general branding. Maybe you do advertising on TV or a radio spot, and someone hears your brand name. They're probably going to do a search for your brand name, and hopefully your site comes up first. Traditional advertising is a great way to drive targeted traffic to your website and help you convert more customers. Behavior, again, how did people interact with your site once they got there? That's very important. We want to get them to the site, and one of the best ways to do that is to improve the user experience, improve the keywords that are on the page, improve your overall SEO, maybe send more qualified traffic via paid search. But once they get there, it's pretty much up to us to craft their experience and make sure that it's a good one, so that either that they come back or they convert right on the spot. So things like site speed, if your site is too slow, chances are the person's going to bounce and they probably won't be back. Another thing about site speed is that out of the 200 or so signals that Google uses to rank pages, this is one of the few things that Google has said definitively that they use in their ranking calculations. So site speed is a huge factor from SEO and from a behavior standpoint. Navigation, if people can't find what they need on your site, they're probably going to leave. They're going to go back to Google and they're going to put in the search maybe a little bit more specifically. What you want to do from a behavior standpoint, from navigation, as far as navigation is concerned, is filter, or tier out your website in a way that makes the most sense from a user's perspective. So if you sell shoes, make sure that the shoes are all linking to different versions of shoes, and you're not scattered. They're not scattered all over the place. Also, site search is a pretty big helpful tool. Instead of having the person go back to Google and do a search there, allow them to search your site, and that's something else that we can track in Google Analytics as well. The design, obviously, design plays a pretty crucial role. If the site is dated, not only is it something that is kind of a turnoff aesthetically, but if the site looks very old, it might trigger something in someone that says, maybe this site isn't very safe. Maybe I don't want to provide my credit card information to this website because it just doesn't look like it's been kept up over the years. It doesn't look very modern, and it doesn't look very secure. And obviously, the content on the site is very important. If you're ranking for a lot of terms, that's wonderful, but if they get to the page and the reason you're ranking for a lot of terms is because you have your keywords blasted and you have 20,000 words of text that just talk about your brand, talk about the keywords over and over again with no real forethought about the user experience, that can be bad for both behavior and for conversions. And speaking of conversions, once we get into turning someone into a customer, hopefully the behavior aspect has encouraged the person to get to a point in your relationship with your website that they understand that they feel secure, they found what they needed, and now that they're at the point where they're pulling out their credit card or they're going to put in their contact information and they're going to send it over to you. So conversion rate optimization, or CRO, is very important. It combines things like A/B testing and other design elements. There's things that you should do. You should actually reach out to your customers using a survey. You've probably seen them. There's a right way to do it. There's a wrong way to do it. If you have a little survey on the bottom right-hand corner that kind of pops up but doesn't really get in the way, that's probably a good idea. But if you have a survey that just kind of blows up in your face and hides the content, that's not the best user experience either. However, it is crucial that you collect the data from people that are actually visiting the site and learn what you can from them to make your site better for them. Okay, design, again, we came back to that. If the site, if your conversion page, your contact us form page isn't secure, or it doesn't look like the rest of the site, or maybe the form is too long, or you're asking for too much information, and it's the first time that they visited the site, all those things could be a turnoff, and it could cost you a lead or a sale. Again, and call to action, very important. You need to tell your visitors what it is you want them to do. So click here is okay, buy now is better. You want to make sure that you're instructing the user every step of the way as to what it is you would like them to do on your site. So from acquisition through behavior, through conversions, you want to make sure that you're providing experience and you're providing direction to them so that at the end of the day, in the conversions, we're seeing what we expect to see, which would be the numbers to increase over time as traffic increases as opposed to the other way. And then community is the last aspect of it, and community is all about making existing customers and new customers brand advocates. So if you want to improve conversions, one of the ways you can do it is to utilize social as a part of your digital strategy. So if you use Facebook, Google+, or Twitter, LinkedIn, these vehicles are very good at helping your brand establish a name for itself, and you actually can help build a community that will then promote your brand for you, and it kind of takes a life of its own. So by the time people get to you, if they get to you from social, especially from their friends or family, I think that you can skip right past the acquisition and behavior and right to the conversion, because now they feel a lot more comfortable than if they just found some random site on search. Okay, so for more information, some advanced reading, a little bit more detailed about what I talked about today. How business owners can use Google Analytics to gain an edge and make smarter decisions. Again, analytics, the data is very good, but it's what story does the data tell? That's really important. I thank you very much for attending. Again, this webinar is being recorded, and at this time I'll open it up to questions, and I'll do my best to answer them, and we'll go for about 15 minutes. Okay, we had a request to go back to the ABC slide. And if you have any questions that you'd like to ask after the webinar, you can email me at chris.county@streamcompanies.com, or you can follow me on Twitter at chriscounty. And please use the question and answer option or in the webinar screen. Okay, if you guys don't have any questions, I'm going to wrap this up. I really appreciate your time. Again, send me an email, send me a tweet, and we'll let you know as soon as this the presentation goes live on SlideShare and on our website. Thanks, everyone. Have a great day. Hey, Vince, are you still on the call?